let's start with our Mangalacharan anyways, right? So
this is a invocation prayer that we recite to hone in our consciousness, also to invoke blessings from the universe, the previous teachers.
So before we start any such endeavor, we would like to maybe take a few moments to enter into this deep mood of calling out to all the previous teachers, all that have walked this path before, so that we can enter into this subject matter in a deeper way. Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Tikam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitharine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda.
So we have upgraded the Zoom limit. So if you have any friends, they can join now.
We can also post it there, right?
Yeah, we'll post it. There's always some glitch when you start something new. So this is the law of the universe. It has to happen. And it's a good thing it happens, because that means we are going in the right direction. So now we'll start with our seminar. Let me share the PowerPoint. So this is our seminar. My name is Loka. That's a short form for my full name, Loka Dhaksha, but you can just call me Loka. I graduated from Brown Computer Science, and as a profession, I work in computer science for a government agency in Washington, D.C. Right now, we're just in India for some vacation. We have been teaching, both me and my wife, we have been studying and teaching the Bhagavad Gita for the last 25 years. And it's been a great joy to meet people through our lifespan, great people like you. And that has enhanced our bhakti in multiple ways. And we can't wait to share and learn from you.
Yeah, and get to know you. My name is Vidarbha, and um, what can I say? I've also, been practicing and studying this for the last 25 years, and it has been just the most incredible journey for us, and that's the reason why we would like to share this and yeah, share our journey with everyone, because it really allows us to connect in a deeper way and overcome such great difficulties as we go through life. Also, we homeschooled. I homeschooled our son, who's now 22, and also a student of Ayurveda. So it's been our life, and we're very excited to be part of this and just share this and hear from you.
And we'll be sharing the recording on our YouTube channel as well as our Facebook channel. So if somebody missed, we'll share with the whole group.
Also, we are actually going to be doing, for those of you who may not be able to because of time zone differences, there'll be a learning system that we are creating.
Okay. So next we'll share some details about the course itself, some quick recap. So we'll meet 1 hour a week on Sundays, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. And many of you have the Bhagavad-Gita, different versions of the Bhagavad-Gita. We are using a particular Bhagavad-Gita. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. We'll share the translations over Zoom, and it also be available in our learning system that we'll share with you very soon. We'll be going through PowerPoint presentations and bringing in different ideas and thoughts that support the topics that are presented in the Bhagavad-Gita to make it more relevant for you.
So the duration will be approximately 6 months, depending on how much discussion we have and how deep you want to go. So, but yeah, 6 months or so. And we would like to keep this very, very discussion oriented. So even though we are going to be doing a presentation, but we really encourage you to ask questions. And as we discussed, I don't know, many of you might have seen the video that we did with Achyuta, and there's no question that's off limits.
Yeah.
There is no thought, no question.
There's no question which is offensive. There's no question which is inappropriate. So any question is welcome, even if you're studying the Bhagavad Gita for the first time. And don't feel that it is a silly question or a stupid question. Every question is
or an offensive question.
Yeah.
So, we welcome doubts, and we welcome a space. One of the main things, along with the fact that we're coming together to study, is to create a judgment-free zone where we can just feel comfortable, and a safe zone where we can just feel comfortable talking and discussing, because that's the essence of bhakti.
Yeah, even if you disagree with what is being presented, feel free to speak it out, because that is completely all right.
Yeah.
And then the other point is that we'll send out an email to you. We'll have a Google Classroom set up for this seminar. For those of you who want to go deeper, we'll have the lessons that we are presenting available there. We'll also have weekly assignments or reading assignments or quizzes, things like that. So whoever is interested in going deeper, you can take advantage of that. And at the end of the course, we'll be offering a certificate and an exam that anybody who's interested in taking it, they can take that. And that way, you feel that you accomplished something over the period of 6 months. Many people ask, what is the cost? Right now, we are offering it for free. But we are a group that works diligently towards sharing the Bhagavad Gita and the knowledge with people in different places like prisons and hospitals and many other places. We send out thousands of Bhagavad Gita. So if you feel inclined, you can offer a donation to your liking, but there is no need, there's no requirement for doing so.
So there are people who are asking, can we still join? So we're just trying to respond to them as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead.
So this is we are going to, what kind of study will this be? We'll be going verse by verse. So there are 700 verses in the Bhagavad Gita. We'll cover all of them. Our format that we have used in the past is we'll read few verses from each chapter. So like 15 or 20 verses in each session, and then we'll do our presentation. So that way you can understand what the verses are saying and then understand the meaning. and their application through our presentation. We may not be able to go like deep into every single verse, but we'll definitely go over the major themes in the Bhagavad Gita and the key verses in the Bhagavad Gita. That way you become familiar with the whole terrain of Bhagavad Gita, what it says and how it applies to me. And then, as I said, one of our primary focus is to also talk about how to apply it in our daily life. So that will be sprinkled throughout this presentation in this course. And many of you expressed interest in developing a deeper spiritual practice. So this will be also a focus of this seminar, is to help you develop your own spiritual practice with Bhakti Yoga. This is what we practice.
So actually on that note, we'll be sending out maybe, or even at the end of this session, what we'll do is we'll ask you to let us know who's interested to start like a daily meditation practice, and those that are interested can let us know, and then it'll be the same Zoom link, and we'll let you know the time.
Yeah, the meditation we start, so right now it's 8 p.m. Eastern time. We start the meditation around 7:45, maybe a little bit earlier. So you can join at that point and then spend 15 minutes. And that's a very solid spiritual practice that you can take advantage of. And we'll do our best to connect. This is a great spiritual community. We have many members who have taken the class before, course before. They will be joining. So we'll try to develop, we'll help you develop the spiritual community and take advantage of it. And it is relevant to a student from any background, because I was going through the feedback that you gave during registration. Many students are from many different backgrounds, so it is suitable for Bhagavad Gita is meant for everybody. And our effort will be to make it accessible to you regardless of your background. And you can also learn, we'll try to sprinkle in some Sanskrit learning throughout this course, so that you can also learn some of the basics of Sanskrit, and there will be a certificate at the end of the course completion.
Yeah. And so if you have any more things that you would like to, talk about, then please do let us know. If there's anything we have missed, we can always add that. So thank you. So without further ado, let's get into the Bhagavad Gita. So what is the Bhagavad Gita? And what's really going on here? Because we've heard of this book so many times, but like many of you actually wrote in your feedback that it's sometimes difficult to understand. So the Bhagavad Gita is actually a very interesting book because it's actually spoken on a battlefield. And one of the reasons why it sometimes feels a little hard to enter into this book is because we just enter into, it's like a huge epic. The Mahabharata is a huge epic. And the Bhagavad Gita is just one chapter in that great epic. And so when we enter into the Bhagavad Gita, there's a lot that has already happened in that epic. And so what's really going on? Who is Arjuna, and why are these people assembled? So all that, we're going to post it on our e-learning system, the background. But suffice it is to say that Arjuna is a warrior, the greatest archer, and he's about to embark on this greatest battle of his life. And something that is completely justified on the level of dharma. So at the same time, he has a moment of great despair. And
then what happens is Arjuna, against his will, this is the force of time and force of the universe, he's brought into this situation where he is forced with the greatest battle of his life. And the situation is even more intense for him because he has to fight with his own family members, his dearmost family members, like his grandfather or his teacher.
Who he's very attached to.
Yeah.
So that's the yoga of grief that we were just mentioning earlier. And so Henry David Thoreau, he made this comment that most men lead lives of quiet desperation and go to their grave with the song still in them. And so we wanted to bring this out just to indicate that this despair that we feel, this sort of crisis, is the beginning point of this Bhagavad Gita. And Arjuna as a protagonist actually represents each one of us, because even though we may not be like Arjuna standing on a battlefield in Kurukshetra, but we all have our own battlefields that we find ourselves in, and we wonder, and it seems to create such a feeling of despair within our heart.
And this despair or this crisis is actually like the crack that appears in our material status quo, and through that crack, that song that we have within can come out.
So there was once, it's kind of interesting that there's a term called mass consensual trance, which means that even in the midst of this great despair, most people go through life, saying that I'm okay, right? And like Brené Brown says, that the first thing is, becoming vulnerable. And so the Bhagavad Gita sort of starts out with seeing, just like I think, Renu, you were saying that I've always been a fighter, right? So we see this greatest fighter being in such a vulnerable position. And so there's a story where there is this insect, particular insect that only has a lifespan of one night time. And so it comes into being in the sort of in the evening dusk time, and by morning you'll see that you'll see dead around like a lamp, or especially in India, you'll see them that there are these, candles or lit lamps, and you'll see them that they're sort of dead by morning time.
Yeah, especially like during Diwali festival, which is a festival of light, you'll see a lot of these insects jumping around throughout the night, and by the end of the night, when the morning comes, they're all kind of dead around the lamp.
So the entire lifespan of this insect is only one nighttime. So then it once met a human being who has a lifespan of 100 years, and so it said, "All right, my dear man, I mean, I hear that you have 100 years to live, and I only have a one night, like one duration of one night. So you probably get to do a lot more in 100 years. What do you do?" So the man replied that, "Well, I take birth and I grow up, and I get a job, and I get married, and I have children, then I grow old, and then basically I die." So the insect looked at the man, completely like with incredulous eyes, and said, "Really? It takes you 100 years to do that?"
I do that in one night.
So let's watch this. This is kind of where this little video is going.
And this is what is flashing through Arjuna's head.
Prabhuji, there is no sound. I don't know if there should be a sound.
There's no sound in the
There is no sound of the video. I think you need to share the sound of the video as well.
There's no sound in the video?
Is anybody having the same issue?
Yes, we all are.
Really?
No sound.
All of it.
No sound for anyone.
And you're able to hear us, but not the sound from the video.
Yes.
Okay.
That is so interesting.
So when you share the video, and then there's a checkbox that share sound of that video.
Oh,
is
really?
it?
Is it?
But we are sharing the PowerPoint. We are not sharing the video.
You have to
It's
share your
okay.
computer.
We've got the idea. I think we have the
Oh,
idea.
share sound.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to do this again. Yeah, I think you got the.
But for
There
the
was not.
future.
Yeah, there was just music basically.
Yeah. Background music.
So we see that Arjuna is actually in that moment right now where he's seeing his entire life flash by as he's facing this great moment of despair. How do we move on? So this is something that is actually, quite common, actually, more common than we think. That a lot of people, they find themselves very similarly to Arjuna's situation, where there is a real questioning of, what am I doing? Why am I doing what am I doing? And apparently there is a great, psychologists there, they have a term called the quarter life crisis, where
It's very interesting that sometimes we feel this sense of futility or crisis when some really bad thing happens to us, a difficult situation happens to us. But many times we can feel the same experience even when everything is going well. And this is something that this gentleman is going to express.
Yeah, so we won't watch this video. What we'll do is we'll post this video in our e-learning system. We'll just move on.
Yeah.
But basically, here is a guy who, goes to college, gets a job, dream job, makes all the money that, that he thinks that would make him happy, and yet finds himself in this position. Like, what am I really doing?
And this
And
is
why should-
this is exactly what happened to me. I graduated from college, and I was in Rhode Island in the snowy dump, and I wanted to move to California for my job. And I got my dream job, moved to Silicon Valley in 94, 95. And I was initially very, very happy that, oh, wow, wonderful sun, and I can travel around and have a good time. But very quickly, I started feeling this great emptiness in my heart that, okay, now I've achieved everything. Now what do I do? Where do I go from here? And after struggling for 2 years, almost like ending up in some kind of internal depression, somehow I made a switch in my life, moved to the East Coast, and that's when I came across the Bhagavad-Gita, and it really helped me to come out of that situation. So this is a crisis that we may encounter at different points in our life, and this is what Arjuna was going through.
So, here is a story, that sort of kind of hints at what is the source of this anxiety, or the source of, why is Arjuna feeling that? And why do we feel sometimes like as if we are in the wrong place or something? And this is a story of a little eagle, a little eaglet actually. And this eagle actually drops an egg in a chicken coop. And this little egg hatches along with the other, eggs in that coop. And, and so the other, eggs, they hatch into little chickens, but then this little egg hatches into a little eaglet. And they all grow together, and the eaglet actually grows up with, thinking that he's also a chicken. And so he sort of hops along with the other chickens and pecks at little grains on the ground. And just like the chickens, as they grow, they can only jump up a few feet. And so he would do the same. But then every once in a while, he would look at the eagles or the birds flying in the sky and would just feel this sort of sense of like great longing, like, I want to be free like that. I want to be able to, fly in the sky with absolutely no hindrances. But every time it wants to do that, the rest of the chickens, they actually mock him. And they say, hey, you're just a little chicken. You're not really meant to be free. You're just meant to be here. And so, so the eagle sort of just like says, all right, and just sort of resigns to his destiny, so to speak. But one day a farmer actually comes and sees that, hey, you're actually an eagle, and you're actually meant to soar in the sky. And so puts him on this pillar, perches him up there, and says, hey, you can, soar in the skies. And so the eagle actually opens up his wings and, goes up. Up it goes, recognizing the fact that it's actually not a chicken, but an eagle who is fully capable of actually experiencing the highest kind of freedom and happiness. And so we also find ourselves in a similar condition where,
this the sense of being tied down comes from our sense of misidentification with who we are.
which we'll be talking a lot more about in the Bhagavad-Gita. And the Bhagavad-Gita, we're just kind of giving you a little overview of what the Bhagavad-Gita, what to expect. So back to the question, what is the Bhagavad-Gita? So the Bhagavad-Gita, actually the word Bhagavad-Gita, Gita means a song, and Bhagavad means the divine. So it's actually a love song or a love call.
From the divine.
From the divine. It's a song of the divine. And it's kind of interesting that it is described in another very ancient bhakti text that how the spiritual dimension, every word is a song and every step is a dance. And so the Bhagavad-Gita is a song which can be sung. And so just to give you a little
glimpse into
what this song feels like.
This is a beautiful poetry, and the whole book is a song, but then every verse, there are 700 verses, and every verse is also a song that all of you can and learn and sing and enrich your life.
So is the audio on now?
Yeah, it's on. And she's a beautiful singer.
You can also share this in our e-learning system. Hope you can hear this.
Yogi Unjita सततं आत्मानं रहसि स्थितः एकाकीयत चित्तात्मा निराशीरपरिग्रह 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 तत्रैकाग्रं मनः कृत्वा यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रियः उपविश्यासने युञ्ज्यात् योगमात्मविशुद्धये 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 समङ्काय शिरो ग्रीवं धारयन्नचलं स्थिरः सम्प्रेक्ष्य नास्
This was just a little
Teaser.
just to, and if you like it, we can
सिका
share more.
Because sometimes Bhagavad Gita appears as like a
अग्रं स्वं दिशश्चानवलोकयन् दिश
Move on. Yeah.
So in Shamamic, we said that how Bhagavad Gita is a love song. And in Shamamic tradition, when somebody gets sick or is going through difficulty and they approach a Shamam, the first question that the Shamam asks them is when did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing? When did you stop being enchanted by stories? And when did you stop finding comfort in sweet territory of silence? So this song is an important aspect of who we are from as a person, as a being.
So again, this is another interesting fact that we found very kind of interesting and relevant is there is a tribe in Africa where as soon as when the parents actually want to conceive a child, they actually go and sit under a tree and they meditate and they think of a song, and when a song comes to them, it's after that they conceive a child, and then that song sort of becomes the song of that child's life. And at different points in the child's life, like different milestones, that same song is actually sung to the child. So the time of, when the education starts, or when the child gets married, or finally when the person becomes old enough and is about to die, that same song is actually sung to that person. So the Bhagavad Gita is also such a song that can accompany us and can stay with us at different points in our life, because life by its very nature continues to change and bring about so many things that are unexpected even. And so by making this Bhagavad Gita sort of one of our songs in our life, we can always go back to it. Kind of takes us back to this one place, that we can, and it's a place of comfort. It's a place of great assurance.
And this is what happens to Arjuna also. He heard the Bhagavad Gita in the battlefield of Kurukshetra and was able to overcome that great difficulty. Later on in his life, when he retires, he faces another great calamity when he's not able to deal with it. And at that point, he again takes to the remembrance of the Bhagavad Gita, and it really helps him overcome that difficult situation. So many people ask, what is the Bhagavad Gita? What is its context in the great text of wisdom from the Vedas? So just wanted to give you a glimpse that Bhagavad Gita is described as the essence of the Vedas. Now, when we speak of Vedas, they are so the whole gamut of literature that comes under Vedic tradition. They are called the four Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Samhitas. Combined together, it's like a great ocean that's very hard for a common person like me to navigate, because my intelligence is only limited, and Vedas are like an ocean. So what Krishna has done in the Bhagavad Gita, he's taken the sweet essence. Typically when there is a medicine or some, like we are right now, we are in India, we're taking this medicine, Alimed, which is like the essence of the garlic. So it's like concentrated essence of garlic that we take for just to keep ourselves away from cold and any kind of viruses. But it has that pungent taste when we take it. But Bhagavad Gita is, on the other hand, this essence from the Vedas is very, very sweet, and it's offered to us in a cup. So this is like a metaphorical way of understanding what Bhagavad Gita is, because sometimes we feel that I have missed out on the Vedas or Upanishads, or I'm not able to get into it. It's very hard. So Bhagavad-Gita makes it very accessible. So there are four Vedas, 108 Upanishads. Just to give you context, 18 Puranas, some Itihasa like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Upavedas like the Ayurveda, Vastu, astrology. They are all part of this great Vedic tradition. And what Bhagavad-Gita does is it brings out the essence from each of these texts and kind of presents it in a way that we can digest it. Essentially, Bhagavad-Gita is a book about yoga, because every single chapter in the Bhagavad-Gita in Sanskrit has the name yoga. Like the first chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. The second chapter is called Sankhya Yoga. Third chapter is called Karma Yoga, and like so on and so forth. So every chapter is described as something to do with yoga, and we'll talk more about that.
So maybe we've been speaking for quite some time. Maybe this is a moment to take a pause and see if you have any questions or comments or anything that, and you can also put your comments or reflections in the chat if you like, or even ask. We're just going to go through. Anshul, is there anything that we should be, any particular question that we should be addressing?
No, Mataji, there is no question so far.
Oh,
There is one.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is the translation that you are using from Beth Cherry?
Okay.
So we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a minute in one of our slides.
Yeah. So far, so good. No questions yet.
Okay.
Any reflection?
But no questions.
I have a question.
Yes, Ash.
About Vedas. Is that correct? How to say it?
Yes.
Vedas.
Yeah, Vedas. Yeah.
Vedas. Okay. So the Vedas include, there's 4 parts to them, and that was the Upanishads, Puranas, Samhitas.
Oh, I see your question. No, those are apart from those four parts. The Vedas are divided into 4 parts, and apart from those four primary Vedas, there are other supplementary parts to the Vedas, which are called the Upanishads, the Puranas. The Itihasas are just histories. So like that.
So together they are called Vedic literature, but there are 4 specific Vedas like Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda, Rig Veda, and Sama Veda. So they are the original Vedas, but the whole body of literature together is also called the Vedic literature.
Okay.
So that includes the Puranas, the Upanishads, the Itihasas, and all the supplementary literatures.
And all these Vedas, they contain within it information about politics, economics, archery, astrology, Ayurveda, music. So it has a lot of information about different sciences. And then, but a part of it is about spiritual realization, because the purpose of the Vedas is ultimately spiritual realization. So even all the material knowledge is there sort of to assist us in our spiritual growth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There is a question. Why is Gita known as a supreme knowledge or the knowledge of the supreme?
Okay, so again, we'll talk more
And
about.
we can answer that. Quickly answering that, because this knowledge is coming from the Supreme Self, Krishna. He is speaking this knowledge, and it talks about understanding the nature of the self, understanding the nature of the Supreme, and how to connect with the Supreme while living our day-to-day life. That is the primary thesis of Bhagavad Gita, that you don't have to leave anything. You don't have to change your current material situation or your occupation or anything. But while living in this world, how can you connect with the transcendence of the Supreme? And that's why it's called the supreme knowledge, because there are many aspects of the Vedas which make it very difficult for a common person to access spirituality. You have to give up everything, or you have to go do this or do that, which is practically impossible for us to do in this age. But Bhagavad Gita is all about living in this world, and from here, connecting with the Supreme Self.
That's exactly what Arjuna was also. He wanted to give up everything, right? And move off to the forest. And Krishna speaks to him that, while living in this world, one can still be spiritual. So if you can be spiritual on a battlefield, then we all have hope. So let's continue maybe, because we have quite a few things.
So we'll try to finish by 9 p.m. Eastern. One person asked that question.
We'll try to finish maybe 10 minutes before that, so that there's enough time for reflections.
Yeah.
Because that's part of what we would like, is just this back and forth. So as we are speaking, even feel free to put your reflections in the chat box. So without further ado, we just will get into. So what we are getting out of, when we are reading the Bhagavad Gita, we are getting the condensed knowledge contained in all of these different books. So that's why Bhagavad Gita is so special. And we'll see how there are so many great personalities in the world who have actually found this comfort. We talked about how finding a song, right? And we see that how Mahatma Gandhi, he spoke about this. He says, when doubts haunt me, when disappointments stare me in the face, and I see not one. Just 1 second to minimize this. One ray of hope on the horizon. So something to think about, not one ray of hope, like rock bottom. I turn to Bhagavad Gita and find a verse to comfort me, and I immediately begin to smile in the midst of overwhelming sorrow. Those who meditate on the Gita will derive fresh joy and new meaning from it every day. So this is Gandhi.
Emerson, who was a great fan of the Bhagavad Gita, he actually wrote a poetry on the Bhagavad Gita, right?
Yeah,
Brahma.
Yeah.
Brahma. So you can, we'll also share that in our learning system so you can enjoy that poetry. He says, I owed a magnificent day to the Bhagavad Gita. It was as if an empire spoke to us, nothing small or unworthy, but large, serene, consistent, the voice of an old intelligence, which in another age and climate had pondered and thus disposed of the same questions which exercise us.
We definitely have found it ourselves. Like when we started reading the Bhagavad Gita, it was like, oh my God, like 5,000 years ago, they were talking about exactly the same questions that we were contemplating like 25 years ago, right? And so you may also find that even though we are so far apart, like in terms of time for sure, right? Even space to some extent. But at the same time, the questions are still as relevant today as they were. And in fact, I would say they're more relevant today. In the morning, this is again by Henry David Thoreau. He says, in the morning, I bathe my intellect in the stupendous and cosmogonal philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, in comparison with which our modern world and its literature seem puny and trivial.
And Einstein, he also appreciated the Bhagavad Gita. He said, when I read the Bhagavad Gita and when I read the Bhagavad Gita and reflect about how God created this universe, everything else seems so superfluous.
So sometimes, now this may be your experience too, that you may feel like, all right, the Bhagavad Gita is great, but then it's such a dense philosophical text. And I have tried reading it, and I think some of you have actually written that in your feedback, that you've tried reading it, it's so difficult to understand. So here is something for you to maybe think about, which might inspire you, is a story of this grandson. There's a grandfather and a grandson who lived in the countryside, and the grandson approached the grandfather and said, hey, I've tried to read this Bhagavad Gita, but I find it so difficult to understand. What's the point? What's the point of reading something I don't understand? And so the grandfather had a little basket, a coal basket, which was sort of black, and gave it to the grandson and said, here is a task for you. Run off to the nearby lake, the pond, and just, fill it up with water, and make sure that you don't spill any water, and just bring it back. And so the grandson took it to the pond and filled it with water, but as you would expect, right, as he was running back, all the water just spilled off. And so he said, well, there's no more water here. So the grandfather said, try it again. And so the next day again, he ran back and just, kept bringing it. And he finally said, there's a bucket lying around. Why don't I just use a bucket? He said, no, I don't want a bucket of water. I want a basket of water. And so finally the grandson, was completely frustrated. And he said, I'm done. Like, what's the point? It's completely futile for me to do this because the water just keeps leaking out. So the grandfather then just looked at the grandson and said, but do you see the basket? And do you see what's the condition of this basket now? And the grandson looked at it, and of course, from the basket being completely black and tarnished, here was a basket which was completely clean.
And shining.
And so the grandfather made this point that, in the same way, when we are reading and trying to understand this text, granted, so much of it is just going to, we won't understand. So much of it is we're going to forget. But just by coming in contact with the spiritual sound vibration over and over and over and over again, we will actually experience a transformation of the heart. So the Bhagavad Gita is actually not just information, but it has, it can actually, if you simply allow the sound vibration to come in, and it can actually remove this debris from our consciousness and allow us to become transformed.
Yeah, and it's also Bhagavad Gita, when you approach the Gita with trying to understand the intent of the speaker, which we'll talk about more, it suddenly becomes more approachable. That it is not just somebody telling me things to do, but there is a deeper intent of love and compassion.
And it's not just philosophy as well.
Yeah,
right?
it's a love song. So we are using this particular edition of the Bhagavad-Gita, which is called the Bhagavad-Gita as it is, because we found that it was very authentic to the tradition, the Bhakti tradition, and also it was very closely it was reflecting the intent of the speaker, who is Krishna.
So, many times, like, there are so many translations of the Bhagavad Gita that are available. And one of the reasons why we are particularly interested in this particular version is because it belongs to this unbroken chain of a living tradition. So it's a lineage that can actually be traced all the way 5,000 years. And there's a line, and another thing we're going to share in our e-learning system is that list of that lineage. So this knowledge is actually passed down from a teacher to a student in a very personal way, and then that student assimilates it and then passes it on to the next. So it's sort of like a link. And now that you're all joining this session, and if you stay and you learn this, then you become part of that link as well.
And this particular edition also brings in the commentaries and realizations of all these great teachers from 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, and then brings it in one place. And it's all kind of in harmony. So you get the benefit of learning from all these great teachers
together. So that's why this particular version.
So this is the list, but we'll share this in our e-learning system. List of all the teachers, and it ends with number 32, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
It doesn't really end there because it continues.
But who's the author of this particular Bhagavad Gita that we'll be using?
Here's another thing, that is the Bhagavad Gita really relevant in modern times? And it's actually also being used in management schools as a text to study management principles, because the Bhagavad Gita is also very versatile. And while it's actually primarily a book on yoga, but it can also help us if you're simply just looking for ways to improve our ability to connect with people, and how do we exist in this world in a way that is actually
Yeah, so this is like Business Week ran an article some time ago where they noted that while it was hip to you in management circles to quote from the classic 6th century BC classic, The Art of War, now it is more and more people are actually in management circles, they are turning towards the Bhagavad Gita. And a couple of comments there that good leaders are selfless, take initiative and focus on their duty rather than obsessing over outcomes or financial gain. This is one of the themes about Bhagavad Gita, how to work in this mentality of working without fruits, working for the benefit of others. And so this is another, it says that how organizations and individuals, when they work in this empathetic way rather than just working for profit, the organizations or corporations are able to make a greater impact in the society and also for their own satisfaction. So it isn't right in sync with today's developing ethos like emotional intelligence or servant leadership. They are all principles that are being talked about.
There is
in the
a professor at Wharton, Adam Grant, who talks about this idea of servant leadership. And the Bhagavad Gita actually, really that's the foundation of how to be in this world in a way that one can become an instrument of goodwill and be the change that we want to see in the world. I mean, especially in today's times where we feel this sort of like pain in the heart as there's so much chaos at all levels, social level, at political level, and of course, the things that are so disturbing. And so what do we do about it? And sometimes it leads to so much anger within us. But here is a positive thing, that each person becoming spiritually connected can become a catalyst for such great spiritual change. And that's really, in essence, what the Bhagavad Gita is about. It's about being the change that we want to see in the world by becoming spiritually connected. Because all, any change that we want to make, and I think it was Einstein again who said that we cannot really solve a problem with the same level of consciousness that actually created the problem. So we have to, enhance or expand our consciousness so that we can actually create any positive change.
And Bhagavad Gita will reveal multiple layers of existence to us, multiple levels of ethics, multiple levels of morality, multiple levels of how we can really go beyond where we are. So I know many of you are coming from different backgrounds, like some of you are yoga teachers, or some of you are professionals and different backgrounds. So Bhagavad Gita will allow you to do something better, whatever you're doing, whatever you intend to. It'll give you tools and techniques to do that even better.
So here is the last slide that we have. This is Oprah, and this is just a short little thing, her condensed advice or her condensed realization over 50 years, right?
Yeah.
Of what she's done. So let's watch this, and then we'll stop
Take
here
questions.
for take questions. Yes.
All of you leaving here have the potential for enormous success. There's a price that comes with that. First and foremost, knowing who you are. Knowing who you are. Being able to answer this question, who am I? And what do I want? I'm asking the bigger question of who am I? Who am I really? And what do I want? I don't want to just be successful in the world. I don't want to just make a mark or have a legacy. The answer to that question for me is I want to fulfill the highest, truest expression of myself as a human being. You must have some kind of vision for your life. Even if you don't know the plan, you have to have a direction in which you choose to go. You want to be in the driver's seat of your own life, because if you're not, life will drive you. Knowing who you really are in this space and time that we embody. You must find a way to serve. Martin Luther King said that not everybody can be famous, but everybody can be great, because greatness is determined by service. Now, we live in a world where everybody wants to be famous and where we admire people for just being famous. We think being known brings us value. The truth is, all of that will fade in time. In 3 years, you won't be able to name the housewives a banana. The real truth is that service and significance, service and the significance that you bring to your service is that which is lasting. When you shift the paradigm of whatever it is you choose to do to service and you bring significance to that, success will, I promise you, follow you. Service and significance equals success.
So this is
Some words of great wisdom from Oprah to end with our first session, and we'll open it up for reflection. Means something that you heard that you like to reflect back for all of us to benefit from your thoughts, and this is what enriching each other means. Bhagavad-Gita, there's the verse there that says that when like-minded people, spiritual people come together and share what they have learned, it really benefits, it lifts the whole group together. So
I have a reflection.
yes. Go ahead, Rhonda.
The mention of being to serve without expectation of reward. Since I've only been into bhakti for maybe a month, but something very deep has come out of me. I have been very angry because in the past year, my family has been just taking me for granted in my service to them, and just kind of like just tossing the things away that I offer to them and help them. And it has made me very angry. And then and today particularly, I have been very angry and it's just been boiling over in me and I just don't know what to do. And very interesting that I come to this meeting and this has come to me about, well, that's not the point of it all. It's not the point of saying, okay, well, they didn't appreciate me and they didn't offer any thanks or anything back. That's not the point. The point for me was to serve and not to be involved in, I guess, the ego or the expectation. That wasn't the point of what I was doing. And I have to remember that. I'm hoping that this helps me let go of the anger.
That's thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Rhonda. Hearing that from you is very helpful.
It is, yeah, because actually we're all looking, this is actually, and we'll talk more about this when we enter into the second chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, where it's described that how the soul actually has, the spiritual spark has a natural need to love and to be loved. What happens though is that we're looking for the right thing in the wrong place. And so when we can engage in unconditional, unmotivated love and service and find this deepest connection with the Supreme Beloved, then our cup is full. Just like, if you have this water, like a spring, like when we live in Washington, D.C., we have a spring that we collect our water from. And because that spring receives a continuous inflow of water, it's never dry. We can go there during winter months. I mean, we go there throughout the whole year and it always has water to offer because it is connected to a reservoir. It's connected to a source. So to the extent that we are connected to our source, to that extent, we have something to offer. But otherwise, what happens is that we begin to feel dry and we begin to feel the sense of emptiness. How can I keep giving without receiving? So that is actually one of the reasons why taking the time to actually connect and reconnect and continue to reconnect with our deepest spiritual essence and our source is so important for us to be able to render this unmotivated service. That's where we get our ability to do that from.
Yes, we'll share the Google Classroom code with you. Anshul can do that in the chat, and we'll also send it out to you over WhatsApp and the email. So that way you can join the classroom, and we'll share all the material there as well. Somebody asked that how will this Bhagavad-Gita help me with depression? Absolutely. This is the whole, the foreground and the background of the Bhagavad-Gita. Arjuna is facing extreme depression, so much depression that his whole body is just bursting out. He's sweating, his body is shaking, and being the greatest warrior, he has to just give up his bow and arrows and sit down on the ground. Just, okay, I can't take it anymore.
At the same time, I mean, if there is any clinical,
Sure.
Diagnosis of depression, we also recommend that you continue to, meet with your doctor and do the needful. But yes, for sure, I think this Bhagavad-Gita is very, very powerful in helping us, be able to connect and get past some of this baggage that we are carrying from so many lifetimes. So it can definitely help.
There are a few questions and
would you like to maybe, would you like to?
Yeah, so there's a reflection from Selva Ganesh. When bhakti enters food, food becomes prasadam. When bhakti enters hunger, hunger becomes a fast. When bhakti enters water, water becomes tirtham. When bhakti enters travel, travel becomes a pilgrimage. And bhakti enters a man, man becomes human.
Beautiful.
Thank you for sharing that.
There is a question, how do you, from Jade, how do you compare the Gita to Patanjali Sutras or define the relationship between them?
Yeah, we actually have a translation of the Yoga Sutras. And what we could do, if you're interested, is maybe, find you the connection. It's very similar, actually, because the Yoga Sutras, in the beginning, they talk about how, the purpose of yoga is to actually remove all the vrittis of the mind, all the disturbances of the mind. And that's the second chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. But you'll see that there is a lot of places of connection and many places where the Bhagavad-Gita is actually, emphasizing not just on the physical part of the yoga, but about Bhagavad-Gita is an essential book of yoga, but talks about many different forms of yoga.
Yeah, like Bhagavad-Gita talks about karma yoga, sankhya yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, and finally bhakti yoga. So you can see the pros and cons of all different yoga systems, finally brings it together in one place. Patanjali's Yoga Sutra I'm not an expert on that, but from whatever I know, it talks about mostly about Dhyana Yoga practice or Ashtanga Yoga practice and connecting with the Supreme, controlling the mind and the senses, which is also a part of the Bhakti Yoga. So they are all connected. It's all helping us to transcend our material reality and then connect to our spiritual self. Anika asked, what is Vedas? Veda literally means knowledge. The word Veda comes from Sanskrit, with, which means to know, and Vedas literally means to knowledge. So it's all the knowledge in one sense. It's described that the Vedas are a body of books that contain knowledge about every aspect of life. So that's what Vedas are.
So we are actually out of time. We really want to respect your time. So if you have more questions and reflections, we have this amazing e-learning system, so that way we can stay in touch through the week. We'll be answering questions, responding to your comments, and also sharing all the different resources, maybe some videos. And as we go along, there'll be very interesting videos and articles that we can continue to share there. So if you're interested in how can people become
So we'll send you, Anshul, can you share the class code here, the Google Classroom code, and
we will share now.
Yeah, we'll also share that over the email
and the WhatsApp
group.
And
And for next Sunday, we'll share the link for the reading in our learning system, so that way you can read up on some of the verses that will get into the first chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, laying the foundation, and then we'll take it from there.
Also, those of you who are interested, if you can just let us know, maybe on WhatsApp, who's interested in the mantra meditation, or if at all, if there's a need for that. So like we said, we are happy to start a new session where we come together and we just learn how to meditate every day, build a good, powerful spiritual practice.
So that will start, you can join even from tomorrow. That will be everyday practice that we do over the Zoom, same Zoom link, 7:45 or 7:40 p.m. Eastern. You can join us, and then for the next 15 minutes, we'll do the mantra meditation together, and then every Sunday we come together for the Gita session.
Thank you very much. It's been such an honor and such a pleasure to be with all of you, and thank you for joining. And if there's any other way that we can assist you, or if you have any more feedback or things that we can do to improve this, please do let us know. So we are continuously, we want to learn and we want to make this better for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you all. We are very touched by your presence and by your
comments
and your own spiritual understandings.
We wish we could talk to each one of you. Seriously, like when we're looking at you, it's like, I wish I could just talk to, but maybe over a period of time, where we can, get to know, each one of you more and more. And yeah.
But feel free to send us a message. We are on the WhatsApp group. And also you can send an email to Zoom into Self, and we'll be happy to answer any questions or any comments that you have.
Yeah, we'll post, the first session, we could post some questions, maybe some reflective questions and stuff. And, it's optional, but we would encourage you, the more we stick, the more we engage with this knowledge, the more this knowledge becomes part of us, right? So this e-learning system is a great way for us to stay engaged through the week. And of course, the mantra meditation also. So even though we are meeting only once a week, it's interesting, the batch before this, we were meeting 5 days a week.
It was like a 3-month marathon.
It was a 3-month, we finished the whole thing in 3 months. So that was just something else. But with us, we'll be meeting once a week, but we can still come together for mantra meditation. And Renu will give you our phone number so we can talk. Should we post it here?
You can, Renu, you can send us an email on Zoom into Self, or this is our personal email. I'll also share that with you guys here. You can write to us on that one.
All right. Oh, maybe Anshul can do that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Anshul, can you share my personal email on the chat? And
sure, we'll do now.
Okay, so
thank you all.
Thank you all.
Hard to part ways with you guys right now. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Gita.
Yes. Looking forward tomorrow for the meditation.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We look forward to it too. Thank you, Halls. Every one of you.
You made a difference in my life already.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think it's the collective energy of all so many spiritual minded people
Exactly.
coming
Yes.
together.
Yes.
Powerful.
Yes.
Makes a big difference.
Yes.
Yep. This vibration that we are doing here is going to go circle the globe.
Yeah.
And
We have
hopefully make
created a
place.
new. This is a new family.
It is our
Yes.
new family. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
See you, Katya. See you. Thank you. The mantra meditation will start at 7:45. Is there a way for us to like put that same time for different time zones? So 7:45 EST. I don't know where you are from, Galaxy A51, but it's 7:45 p.m. EST.
Eastern Standard Time, US. We'll post a time zone converter in the WhatsApp group, so you can find out your time.
I think
local time.
that'll be good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Anshul, if you can stay online. And Amrita also.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, I'm also here.
For the meditation each night, did you say it's the same Zoom link that you emailed us for tonight?
It is the same Zoom, same Zoom link.
Okay,
just
and we can reuse that same Zoom link, and you're doing it every night at 7:40, you said?
Yeah, 7:40 p.m. Eastern every night.
Okay, and then each Sunday for this class, is it again going to be the same Zoom link, or will you send a different
Yes.
link for each Sunday?
No,
Okay.
it's the same Zoom link forever. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina.
Lokaji, how can I get in touch with you?
Yeah, so
This is Renu.
yes, Renu. So I'm sharing my email address. I think it's already shared. And you can send me an email and then we can exchange our phone numbers over that email.
Where is that shared? Is it in the chat?
Anshul, can you share it again? Yeah, it's in the chat, but I'll share it again.
Yeah, sharing again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you see that, Renu?
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
All right, so I'll end the meeting here, and Anshul and Amrita, we can come back online.
I think we're still live on Facebook.